My girlfriend Emily and I had been planning our anniversary trip to Asia for months. Flights were booked, hotels were reserved, and we'd both taken time off work. Everything was coming together perfectly. It was supposed to be our trip, one we'd been dreaming about, adventurous, romantic, the kind of getaway you read about in travel blogs. And then, of course, Karen showed up. Karen, Emily's cousin, isn't the type to pop in just to say hi. No, her visits always have an agenda. She only comes around when she needs something, and today, I could already feel it coming. "Hey," Karen breezed in, as if she were a regular visitor. "Got a sec?" I glanced at Emily, who was blissfully unaware. "Sure, what's up?" I asked, already preparing myself for whatever she was about to ask. "I'm in a bit of a tight spot," she started, her voice taking on that familiar tone I'd heard 100 times before. "Would you mind lending me $100? It wasn't a shock. Karen's finances are always in flux, and this wasn't the first time she'd asked for help. I handed over the money without much hesitation. After all, she was family, right? She tucked the money into her purse, and then, as if nothing had changed, she casually dropped the next bombshell. "So, I hear you guys are going to Asia?" Emily, unaware of the trap being set, launched into her excited spiel about all the places we'd be visiting, the food we'd be trying, and the experiences we couldn't wait for. Karen's eyes lit up, and I could see the gears turning in her head. This wasn't about curiosity, she was calculating how to worm her way into our plans. "Sounds like a big trip. You must be spending a lot on it," Karen said, her voice laced with feigned innocence. "Well, yeah. It's not exactly cheap," I replied, trying to downplay it. I could already tell where this was going, and there it came, the line I had been bracing myself for. "So, can I come with you guys?" Karen asked, nonchalantly, as though we were in the middle of a casual conversation about travel. I froze. Emily, still caught up in her excitement, didn't notice the shift. But I did. I could already feel the tension creeping in. "Well, it's kind of a special trip for us," I said, trying to stay calm. "We weren't really planning on inviting anyone else, but if you really want to come, you'd have to book your own flight and accommodations." Karen blinked, then shot me a look like I'd just told her we were leaving without her. "Oh, that's fine. But, can you pay for my flight?" I stared at her. "No, you'd have to pay for your own flight. We're not covering that for you." Her face twisted in confusion, as if she couldn't comprehend why anyone wouldn't want to pay for her vacation. "But we're family, right? I thought family helps each other out." "We are family," I said, my patience thinning. "But this is our trip. If you want to join, you handle your own expenses." She stood there for a moment, clearly processing the refusal, before launching into her next demand. "Fine, but if I come, I want to stay in nice hotels, and I'll need at least $700 to spend. I'm not going to be some charity case." I couldn't believe it, the nerve. "Karen," I said, struggling to keep my cool, "we're already spending thousands of dollars just for us. There's no way we're covering your hotel, or giving you $700 to spend. If you want to go, you pay for it." She crossed her arms, clearly unhappy. "You guys are so selfish," she muttered, as she stood up to leave. "I can't believe you'd treat family like this." I took a deep breath. "If you're done, I think you should go." And just like that, Karen stormed out, hurling insults about how we didn't care about family, slamming the door behind her. Emily and I stood in stunned silence for a moment, and then, as if on cue, we both burst into laughter. "Can you believe that?" I said, wiping tears from my eyes. "She honestly thought we'd pay for her whole trip. What kind of family does she think we are?" Emily shook her head, still laughing. "She really thought we'd finance her entire vacation. I mean, seriously, what did she expect? The kind that would have been buying her souvenirs in Tokyo by the end of the trip," I said with a grin. "If we agreed, she'd probably want us to pay for her shopping too." We haven't heard a word from Karen since then, and honestly, I couldn't be more relieved. Some people just don't get the message. I worked for a company that looked like it belonged in a corporate brochure. You know, the kind: sleek offices, fancy glass buildings, paychecks fat enough to make you feel important. I was one of the lucky 200 salespeople at Valente Financial, a company that prided itself on being the best in the game. Every year, we were promised bonuses, the kind that made you feel like you were actually contributing to something bigger. But then came April, the annual meeting. The CEO, Daniel Fairfax, a man with a smile so smooth you could probably use it to butter toast, stood up to deliver his speech. "We had the best year yet," he proclaimed, and the applause that followed could have been mistaken for a standing ovation at the Oscars. Everyone clapped like we had just been handed the key to the city. I clapped too, but only because it's what you do when everyone else is doing it. I didn't realize I'd be clapping for the same guy who would ruin my year. In May, the company told us to submit memos justifying why we deserved our bonuses. I wrote mine like I was applying for sainthood. "Here's how my sales grew last year," I wrote, highlighting the record-breaking sales numbers, the insane growth in my territory. I even included my percentage of total sales, laid out in neat, bullet-pointed glory. This was supposed to be my slam dunk. Then June arrived. I logged in to check my bonus statement, excited, expecting the kind of bonus that would make a down payment on a shiny new car. $0. Not just for me, mind you, but for everyone in the sales department. Less than 10% of us got bonuses. I stared at my screen, blinking in disbelief. 0. It was like getting a participation trophy for the biggest failure of my career. I wasn't the only one pissed off. The sales floor turned into a war zone. Emails were flying back and forth, and the angry buzz could be heard from across the office. Supervisors were scrambling to justify the situation. They tried to explain, but they couldn't. A rumor spread that the managers had been given bonuses. And guess what? They had the ability to choose their own amounts. Naturally, most of them took the money. A couple of them, though, refused to take anything, knowing it would look bad to their teams. But that didn't stop the rest from cashing in. My supervisor, Tom, took his bonus. And when the news came out, he tried to explain it to the team, but people screamed at him. You could cut the tension with a knife. And there I was, sitting at my desk, doing absolutely nothing. I decided that if the company wasn't going to pay me what I'd earned, I wasn't going to lift a finger. Instead, I spent my days scrolling through job listings on monster.com, thinking, maybe I could get a job at a company that values its employees. Tom came by, eyes wide. "Jake, why aren't you working?" he asked, his voice tinged with desperation. I looked up from my computer screen and smiled. "Well, Tom, until I get the bonus I earned, I'll be here, reading job ads. You can expect me to come in late, leave early, and do exactly nothing until they pay me what I'm owed." The next day, I was summoned to Carla's office, the regional manager. She was all smiles at first, but as soon as I sat down, her smile faded into the corporate mask that said, "I'm about to pretend I care." "So, Jake," she said, leaning forward, "I've heard about your work stoppage. What's going on?" I raised an eyebrow. "You heard about it from Tom, right? So, you already know why I'm not working. Let's not waste time." She tried to buddy up to me, going from friendly to stern in seconds. But I wasn't buying it. "Look, Carla, the longer I sit here not working, the more money your company loses. I was your top performer last year. You don't want to mess with that." I handed her my numbers, my daily average of sales, and what they were losing by not paying me. I even told her how much cheaper it would be for them to just pay me what I earned and get me back to selling. She blinked. Then she asked, "So, what do you expect me to do about it?" "Pay me, and I'll go back to work. It's that simple." The next day I checked my email. More defections, more people leaving, more angry employees. By noon, Sarah, a colleague of mine, resigned. We walked out together, grabbed drinks, and joked about how much of a mess this company had become. A few days later, I was summoned to Derek, the national sales manager's office. He was the big guy, the one who was supposed to fix everything. "I understand you're upset," he said, his voice filled with that fake sympathy corporate people always use. "But withholding bonuses wasn't my decision," I asked him point blank. "Was it your idea to withhold bonuses from 80% of your sales staff, or was it someone else's?" He didn't answer. "But I didn't need him to. I'll go back to work," I said, "but I'm not selling a single thing until I get my bonus." The next day, Derek called me into his office again. He handed me my bonus check with a smile, clearly hoping that would be enough to make me forget the last week. I took the check, handed him my resignation letter, and said, "I'm leaving today, but I'll need my unused vacation pay before I go." He read the resignation letter, nodded, and said, "I'll get that processed." As I packed my things, I heard more footsteps, another resignation. Sarah had already left, and now, a few more people were following suit. We walked out together, laughing all the way to the bar across the street, and I thought to myself, this is what corporate greed looks like. The company eventually issued the bonuses, but by then, 20% of the sales force had already quit. They were left scrambling to fill the positions, but the damage was done. I learned a lot that day. Treat your employees like dirt, and eventually, they'll walk right out the coming of axe door.